Hello and welcome to Awaken to Ascension podcast. And today we have Alex, Melissa, and myself, Janae. I'm going to be the host today. And the topic of today's podcast is awareness of the matrix, which is going to be quite an interesting topic of discussion, I believe, because I'm sure many of the listeners and viewers have watched The Matrix. And if you have not watched The Matrix, then I would highly suggest that you do go watch it because it may just be the beginning of some scales falling from your eyes and for you to become more aware of the world that we do live in. So I'm going to hand it over to Alex.
Thank you, Janae. Yeah, I would actually like to address the movie The Matrix. It was a great movie, and it raised so much awareness of the world that we're living in that things aren't exactly as they seem. And when we become aware that this is not the world that like everything that we see isn't like it's all an illusion, right? And learning how to navigate the matrix, the world that we live in, we find ourselves on the path of more like inner guidance, inner peace, inner knowing, inner trust. And I guess I would really like to hear from Melissa when you said that it's even in the Bible.
Well, they do. They call it Maya, right? It's that illusion of, and we can use it in different languages, but it's really the same idea. And really, what happens, it's just surfacing through the veil, right? What is our physical experience here and what is our spiritual experience here? And we do come into this limited beliefs. And I think the programming from birth, we come in with unresolved issues of past programming from the Maya that we've lived through in another lifetime. And we do carry that in our soul signature. And ultimately, when we do go back to source and we pick a new vessel in this physical experience on this side of the veil, we come into a place of programming. And really, when you think of the Bible, it really comes down to a personal growth, right? I mean, there's two ways to look at it. It's was rewritten from, the Aramaic and the Greek language way back before any of us really can identify when. But now you look at the New Testament, right? Which is where a lot of the Christians, and especially the fundamental Christians, like really seek after, but they won't really understand that Maya is this experience that we are here to grow through the teachings and the things that we were supposed to be taught through those older texts of the Bible is what Jesus was really here to do. They eliminated the book of Thomas and things like that, that really gave those things that hit home to resonate with us, like why we are here, why do we have this programming, why are we submitted, why do we suppress? And really, ultimately, I hear from a lot of fundamental Christians that will say, well, Jesus really, was the one that would take, your shoe off and wash your feet to show subservience. Ultimately, he was just saying that, please don't worship me. I'm here to more empower you and showing you that someone in a leadership role, myself, can come to the level of, from the place of king, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to point out that there can be a very discouraging concept when you think that you're in a matrix. Like you begin to think maybe this isn't real or it's not worth it. But I want to remind you that even though this may be or it is an illusion, your soul still grows. Like what, even if like maybe we are in this giant tubes just as batteries, we still have mental capacity to see and experience the world around us through our nervous system. And that's just as a reminder that it's not a complete loss, right? Like we actually have a path to move forward, whether this is a simulation or, just a matrix or whatever it is, our consciousness is still here.
Again, I want to
So,
add to that. If just we choose this experience, so that's why we can't say that we were betrayed, right? We actually signed up for this experience. We have a signature in our soul that says we are coming back here because we don't want to go back to this sacred place that where our soul was once one soul. We want to refracture that soul to what it is become one. And when you think of Aleph in Hebrew, it's oneness, and it's really the beginning of creation. And ultimately, we tend to disassociate and say, no, it's just random. I was given birth and now I'm here to struggle and repeat cycles that my family's doing. And I'm going to just be in this humdrum. And ultimately, we are here to work through that betrayal. We are here to work through our parents' unresolved issue. We are ultimately to go back to that place on that side of the veil where we can come back in fulfillment of what Jesus actually was here. If anyone does believe in Christianity or any of those religions, I'm all about Kabbalah. It is that oneness with our Creator. That vessel that we hold is really what Christians say is having Jesus in my heart. Really, it's that connection of that light from our Creator. However, in Hinduism, everyone has the same way of reaching back to that light of our Creator. It's just that how we do it here in the States is usually through Christianity, religion, or even, they call it the New Age spirituality, because they want to make it so different that we are the ones that are betraying ourselves if we go this direction. And I feel like, that's just kind of asinine when you think of it. It's just judgment on the sense of versus using the discernment, which is what's in the Bible for the Matrix.
Absolutely. And to just go back to the Matrix as people understand it, just, the way that it was depicted within the movie and how it was depicted, it's the frequency that we're operating on here in the system that we've been forced into. And as society, we are wearing shoes, which is taking away from grounding. And we are living in homes which is out of nature. So the system essentially is keeping us out of our true essence and connectivity. And when we are taken out of that, we lose our power. So you have to understand that it's also a choice that you're making as a human having this experience here on Earth, which way you're going to operate. Are you going to operate within the system, or are you going to choose to not operate in the system and actually open your eyes to see that this is, as Alex mentioned, this simulation. I sometimes refer to it as a game, and every time that I ascend more, I'm leveling up. I'm kind of like moving up a level in the game. And we also talk about NPCs, which are non-players in this matrix. So it's those individuals that are so blinded by reality and that are in the system that they don't even see how manipulated they are, and that they are just living in this cycle, this repetitive cycle and karmic cycle.
Right, yeah, and that's something too. It's because we're getting so much further away from being connected with the earth, with ourselves. But at the same time, that's almost the point of, separation, right? So like when we return to oneness, we are one with love, we're one with source. And the longer we reside there, we lose that duality of separation. So yeah, we came down here to be separate, but we've kind of lost our way where we've become so disconnected. And now it's become so easy. Like you just wake up and the world around you disconnects you in every way, shape, and form. Like our food's got toxins in it, our water has fluoride in it, which calcifies the pineal gland, your intuitive center. And Janae's absolutely right. We have to make that decision, that choice to start moving back towards being connected. I think we're far enough away from source now. I think it's time to make our way back.
I do have to, just looking at myself, when I look back, I'm 53, and I look back from the time I can remember, right? And how things resonate with me, and always knowing that was something outside of what is. And I think that I always was just suppressed by family saying it's all about finding yourself through God, through the church. Not that I grew up with any kind of very heavy religion in my household, because my mom, premonitions, We had a lot of it. I would never say that I would want different parents because I feel like they were exactly the people that I chose to move through the things that I had to create in my belief system. And then when I started to outgrow that belief system, it took me some time, right? But I think we center ourselves around people that are here to trigger us and remind us. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it may have taken 40 something years, right? But I knew all the way along, like what was right, what was wrong. And I knew that free will was part of that. And I do have to say that we have to see the betrayal in a side of us first and the things that we reflect because it all comes from within inside. And the veil is always wanting us to project it to someone else. And then we suppress. So we do rely on, prescriptions for mental health, things like that. That's just kind of part of the programming here that we have to realize we can heal ourselves. You just have to find your path. And there's going to be so many different paths, but just being here and listening to this podcast is like such, pat yourself on the back because we all come from different experiences, age groups, where we live. We all have very different culture, even, right? Like how I raised my family within my household and how Alex was probably raised in his household and how Janae was raised in her household. We are not the same, but ultimately, when it comes down to the spiritual level, we are the same. And that's where I feel like it's such a separation. It's the veil. We are really 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Of each other and the oneness that Alex also mentioned. We are all one. We are all connected, and we are reflections and mirrors of one another. And the triggers that you have from someone else, when they do something that triggers you, you need to actually step back and look at it from a different perspective, not something that they are doing, but something that is within you that you haven't quite necessarily looked at and understood because they're doing something that's triggering you. So what is it that they are doing? Because that is also within you. And you also spoke about us writing our stories before we came here, which is also so accurate. And we are faced with all of these karmic lessons and all of these challenges and obstacles, which I think also people have made us believe or misled us that ascension and awakening is this, it's elated and it's this dharma that you reach and it's this happy space, which it completely is. But we are still faced with obstacles and challenges. It's just how we are going to be able to get past those obstacles much faster and with more grace. And when you've written the story before you come here, you need to understand that some of the situations that are coming into your path, you are not in control of. So you have to allow it. You have to have an allowance for it so that it can enter and then exit. Because if you try to control it, you actually are then you're prolonging it in your life, that obstacle, that challenge, because you're focusing your energy and your attention onto it. So that's basically you're asking the universe, please give me more of what I'm focusing on. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely true. Every bit of that. One thing that I really would be remiss if we didn't talk about is the growing, well, direction of AI and how like we are seemingly actively putting ourselves into a more like Matrix, like the movie type, like Terminator, The Matrix, like these movies that warned us about allowing computers and robots to take over. And we are just like letting it happen and we're seeing it happen and like no one's stopping it. I mean, there's also like the brain rot that AI comes with. It's like the more that you rely on it, the more dependent you become on it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have actual robots that do things for us, that's going to encourage muscular dystrophy. And if those robots ever just shut down, there's going to be many deaths, right? I mean, and I was also considering the idea that there was a student or a kid who committed suicide because ChatGPT told him it was a good idea, and there was no what's the word, like repercussion for that. There was no responsibility for that. Like who, yeah, like who's responsible for those kind of things?
But you do got to remember, though, that it is all built on binary code, right? Which is no different than we are. We are all built on code. The universe is built on code. And when you go back to even I Ching, it's all code. And even, right now they're looking at even DMT with the red laser, with Dane Glober, with through the Dream Lab. They have one here up in Broomfield, Colorado, which you might want to check out, Alex. It's pretty cool. But what they're doing is putting people on DMT on different levels of it and seeing the code through the red laser. And they're all seeing the same thing. And they're seeing the binary code. We all, there's so much, and this is where I feel so like gifted to have a son that actually understands a lot of this. And when you start to really understand, and he has done macro dosing on psilocybin, and the things that he had seen at such a virgin age of not really going through a lot of heartache or things that really have broken his heart, but in the sense of under a family unit, you're still going to get pieces of that, from this stuff that's dysfunction from between me and my husband, right? You will always grasp that as an unconsciousness into our subconscious and our unconscious. And when he did his plant medicine, I was just blown away with what he actually leveled up. He actually said he saw God, and he knows God is not the man that sits on the cloud. He knows that there's two forces. There's the dark force and the light force. He's seen it all. I mean, he literally said he got up in the middle of his macrodose and looked in the mirror, and his eyes were completely black. And when he looked at himself, he went into a whole nother level. So when you think of it, where did he cross into the veil? When, it's no different than an NDE, right? A near-death experience. The things that he actually shared with me, my husband and I watched near-death experiences, it was right on point. And when he did his own research on people that had plant-based experiences, he's like, there were so many things that he took away from other people's experiences that he saw himself. So clearly we do enter another dimension when we allow to take out that stuff that's blocking us, our thoughts, because thoughts are, when you really think of what is a thought, that would be a whole nother topic, right? Because we get thoughts. I mean, I get thoughts. I mean, I have so many stories, and I could take up 3 hours, but I've been there where I was like, wow, that is so magical. And I'm not even taking plant medicine. So you can actually have that connection through meditation, through our affirmations, through our mantras, how we set up our day. You can have those experiences within yourself and create that old DMT.
So I wanted to touch on when you spoke about codes and coding and obviously just the AI and all of those things. I've had experiences where if I watch television, I actually see the picture very differently to what most would see. So it's almost as though every single person has an aura around them through my eyes when I'm watching TV. So I don't watch a lot of television because I don't believe that it is very healthy for my own journey in my own self. But everything is energy as well, and that's also something that we all forget, is everything around us is energy, and it's the illusion that we've been taught that it is solid, but it's energetic. And to go back to the codes with speak, or you write onto water. So we are made up of 70% of water. So the water that we intake, if you write these specific codes, each code has, so numbers have frequencies and numbers hold meaning. So when you combine specific numbers with one another, it creates a code, and the code is for something specific. So it could be a code to bring in abundance in your wealth, and a code for love, or whatever the case is. You find the code and you write it on water. So you write it on your glass, on your bottle, and you write the same code onto your left wrist at the bottom, and you basically are giving the water that energetic frequency, that code, so that when you ingest it, that frequency is then held within your body, because your body is water. And majority of the earth around us is also water. So we are so aligned and so connected to that specific element. So I just wanted to touch on that coding aspect as well, just for the listeners and viewers. If they didn't know that, they can try it.
Yeah, and it is good though. You have to understand though it is a part of that daily practice in your foundation. Because I know even in Hebrew, if I use the frequency of lam yod yod, which is it's actually the purification of water. So when I shower, I always say, you know, I bring in sorry, I misplaced that. That was dialing God. It's actually vo mem bet, and it purifies water. So anytime I shower, I bring in that frequency, and I bring in that, and I because everything we speak is so powerful. That is why sometimes tone can really be noticed by other people because they feel that frequency. So you have to really remember that we are like that frequency on a radio station. You either can be on the AM and you can get one or two things, that may resonate, talk radio, a lot of static, or you can be on the frequency of FM and really turn in that vibration. Because I know, like one of my sons, if he doesn't get enough water, he feels those intrusive thoughts kind of invading him because he's dehydrated. Because water is such a purification for us and it keeps us afloat and really connected to that light. So when he is like dehydrated, he feels intrusive thoughts, he feels anxiety. He starts to put water into his body, he can feel it start to grab that stability. So water is so important, especially with people that have a lot of those like neurodivergence, right? They have a lot of ADD. A lot of them are so dehydrated, they don't even pick up water and drink it. They're all about soda. So it's a huge thing. Mm-hmm.
And so we are going to be closing off very soon. So I just want to see if Alex has anything to add to this incredibly insightful podcast that we are speaking about, the topic that we've discussed.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, I was just going to say we are about out of time. I want to thank you all for viewing. And if you have any interesting comments about the Matrix, drop them in the comments below. Like and subscribe. And thank you for watching.
Thank you so much. Sending you so much love.
Mm-hmm.